Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Well, today we're going to go ahead and get a panel back on the car, believe it or not. I've got the trunk lid on. Dave just came over and gave me a hand setting it on there because there's no way I was going to get it on there without screwing something up. So I got the hinges in. So what I'm going to do is bolt those together, shim the end right here, and today we're going to go ahead and try to get it exactly where we want it, get the gaps the way we want it, and then start blocking out to see how these are going to line up together and what we need to do to make that as perfect as we can. So let's go ahead and jump on in here and get after it. Okay, I got about as far as I'm going to get just doing the preliminary filling and kind of tapping down some high spots. And then the next step, we will be getting another coat of epoxy on here. So both sides are basically roughed in, ready to go. So now we need to move on to getting this trunk lid where we want it. So Dave and I just set it on here, just set it here. I didn't even try to get the gaps right. So what we want to do is, before I crawl in, because the hinges are not bolted on yet, they're in, but they're not bolted to the deck lid. I want to try to get this, perfect all the way around, and then crawl up inside there, and then just put the bolts up in, tighten it up, and then we can start worrying about the heights. So whether we need to shim at the hinge or we need to work back here. I've got a couple of spacers, one on each side, just made out a piece of PVC pipe. I didn't know how long to make them, so I just made a generic length, 1/2 inch, and then we'll pull those out and shave them down until this is sitting just right. So let me go ahead and get the deck lid kind of pushed around where all the gaps look perfectly even, and then it lines up back here. Then I'll crawl in there and get those bolted up, and then we can start opening this trunk lid and working on those shims. All right, we got the hinges attached. I went ahead and pushed them out before I tightened them up, both of them, so they're kind of stressed out so the thing won't slide side to side as it goes up and down. It's looking pretty good. Now we need to go ahead and get these little plastic PVC shims. I'm just going to keep cutting them down until that deck lid sits perfect right across in this area right here. Then we can start worrying about how it sits around the rest of the area and our gaps, and then figure out what we're going to do to make it look as beautiful as possible. Okay, we got those temporary stops sanded down. Took a few tries, but it's looking pretty good. We're not quite the right distance here, but one thing at a time. We have to start somewhere. So this side's looking pretty good too. Not perfect, but it's hard to tell until the trunk lid is in the perfect spot this way as well, but we got it close. Now that corner over there, right where it meets the filler panel, right where the sail panel comes down, that's almost perfect height over there. But over here, holy smokes, this thing is, it's a massive gap right there. And it had it before. I did put this quarter panel on with sail panel and the filler panel, but I did not touch the inner structure. I remember having shims on this side of the trunk lid before, so it is what it is. If I could have remembered it right, I probably could have cut the structure down and pulled it down a little bit, but who knows what that would have done to the quarter panel fitment. So we are going to go ahead and shim that up. Now I went ahead and made just now 4 shims out of some 16 or 19 gauge, excuse me, and then I've got some other body shims here. So what I'm going to do is crawl up inside there, just loosen these bolts, push up and slide some of these shims in, tighten it up. And I'm going to keep doing that till this comes out, flush right here, or the right height. So give me a couple of minutes to crawl in and out of there. It's no fun. It's going to take a bit, and then we'll get this thing leveled out on this end, and then we can start adjusting the gaps and see what needs to be done next. All right, guys, I crawled in and out of there 7 times to get that. Too high, too low, too high, too low. Now I got my porridge just right, so pretty happy with the elevation on both sides. This spot right here, and on the exact same spot on the other side, is the exact same gap. You can tell it does widen up in the middle, so we're going to have to address that. Elevation wise, it's pretty good, but the filler panel is just a little low in the middle. We may end up, you guys remember I pushed up on that brace underneath. I think we're going to bump it a little bit more to get these right on the money now that we have this all shimmed just the way we want it. So it's not looking bad height wise. I'm pretty happy with that. Back here in the back, we've got, across here, they're not always very good. This one, it's a little high here and a little low there. I think we may end up reshaping this to make that match that trunk lid. I think that's probably the best move. Over here, it looks a lot better. As you can see, they match each other a lot better. There's a molding that goes across, one here and one here. So as long as these line up well, that's good. We are a little tight on our gap right here, so we may end up having to grind this a little bit and re-TIG welding that. We'll figure that out later. But the gap down this side doesn't look too bad. Pretty happy with it. The gap on this side, not so much. You can see it's tight down there, which we may have to grind and re-TIG weld that to open that up. And then it gets fat right here. And so we're gonna fill. I'm not going to try to lead this in or anything else, but I'm gonna use some metal to metal reinforced body filler. This stuff is hard as a rock. It's not lightweight body filler. This stuff is tough. You can drill and tap it. So that's what I'm going to use. And it's basically like a body filler with aluminum powder inside of it to reinforce it. It's not good for areas that may flex, so you don't want to use it there. But in areas like this, you know, I can build this up. And you guys recall, I leaded both of these, and they look pretty good in this area. And then as the lead went away, then the gap opened up again. So I don't want to mess with the lid and try to TIG weld, you know, all that and try to bring that edge out. I think I'm going to bring this part towards it and just reshape that whole thing with filler. Now, the filler is tough. Now, some guys say, well, if you hit that, it's going to chip off. If I hit something hard enough to chip the paint off, you know, I'm going to have to fix the whole area anyway. So if it chips some filler, which I doubt it will, this stuff is hard. I mean, really hard. That's not that big a deal. Once the paint's chipped, I got to repair it. So it doesn't matter if I'm repairing a little filler and some paint or a chip. So in my mind, it's not that big a deal. And if I was to weld all that, the chance of warping this big old flat piece of sheet metal is very high. So I'm going to go with the lower risk, you know, solution basically. So let's go ahead and kind of pop the hood or the trunk lid open, excuse me. We'll take a look around what we got to do, and then we're going to get after it. All right, we got the trunk lid open, and you can see there's 2 shims here, 2 shims there to get that one. There's a pretty good gap in there. So, and that's the solution. I could, you know, rework that hinge. I could rework the mounting spot. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I'm not going to do that. Once I get this trunk lid off again, what I'm going to do, I'll measure the thickness of that, which it should be the same, and I will make a shim that matches this hinge so it's look nice and clean. It won't be a shim, it'll be a plate with 2 holes in it that will be probably bonded to the hinge or tacked onto the hinge. And then when you put it on, it's just like a little permanent extension for that hinge. The shims on the other side are much thinner, but the same exact thing will be done over there. So I think what we're gonna do is right off the bat, we're gonna get in there and we're gonna pry up on the center. We're gonna put a board on there about maybe 8 inches long, put a board and just pry up to get that filler panel to match that trunk lid exactly all the way across. And then we're gonna start thinking about getting some filler in there. So let's get set up and get that bent up where it belongs. And then the rest of it, we're not gonna be so lucky to be able to bend it around. We're gonna have to figure out some way to fill or weld to get it to match just perfect. Okay, so here's the setup. I've got a 2x4 on some blocks back there, a 2x6 clamp so it doesn't fall. And the idea is just to come over here and give it a little bump and then just keep moving everything out of the way, lowering the deck lid, checking it, and keep doing that till we get the alignment just perfect. So I'll bring you back in a second, hopefully, when I get this just right. All right, we're looking pretty good. Took 3 more tries and I had to get medieval with it on the last one to get it to go where I wanted, but it's looking really good. Now we need to start thinking about how it touches, how it meets over here. So interestingly enough, you see I already blocked the deck lid some time ago, and everywhere it didn't touch, it's actually low over here. So where it kind of blocked out nice, it's pretty good. Everywhere where it didn't, that lip is actually low right there. So on the other side, we have something similar, but much smaller. So it actually sits a lot more level over here because you can see it blocked out more evenly. So there's just a few low spots, and that right there actually corresponds with it not quite being as flush as I'd like. So across the filler panel here, it is not perfect, and you can see some spots where it didn't sand, right? So that means the lip kind of rolls off on the trunk lid. We don't have much to work with right here. It only sticks out with a pinch weld right here where it folds over. So I think what we need to do is take the chance, open the trunk lid, and get the rubber mallet out and smack those edges a little bit, see if we can get those to come up, because we really don't want to just add a bunch of filler there. Then the profile of the edge of that panel will be thicker right there. I've seen it plenty at car shows. I've seen professionally built cars. You look at the door edges and they are way thicker in some spots than others because they just piled on filler. So let me get this open, get the rubber mallet out, and grit my teeth and smack that thing a few times. All right, before we start smacking on this thing, I propped it up. I put a strap in there, ratchet strap, to hold the trunk lid down so it doesn't flop up and then come crashing down on me. I've got 2 blocks. I put a piece of tape right at the area I need to raise, and I'm going to use a dead blow hammer on a block instead of a rubber mallet because I was afraid that was just going to put a series of little dents in it, right? So we're going to start with the big block first and just give it kind of a smack here in the middle. Then we'll go to the smaller one maybe. I don't know how well this is going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. All right, let me lower it down. We'll check it, and just like the other side, we're just going to keep doing that until we get that lip up to where it matches down here. I think we just about got it. Figured out that really to bend this pinch weld over like this, I had to use a smaller area and just slide it up about a ½ inch every time. And then if I hook my finger in here and pull down and then smack it, it got a lot more force into it. So let's lower it down, check it out. I think we could just about have it. Okay, that's looking really good. Before there was light right in here because that was down so low. So I'm feeling pretty good. It feels good too. So that's working. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, that little bit over there. I don't know what I can do along here. I'm going to check that for straightness. I think that is so minute. I almost sanded most of that out, so I think we're looking pretty good there. But let me get the other side. I'll bring you back, and we're going to start talking about what we need to do on these gaps. This gap right here, you can actually see it. See how even it is, and it comes along, and then you can just see it pull over right here. It just kind of leans over, and both sides do it. This side is just the worst, where the gap just goes really nice, and it just pinches together right here, and then back out again. So I don't know, we'll figure something out. Okay, we got those other areas sweetened up real nice, and now we need to deal with this. So I put a piece of tape on here, I lowered the trunk lid down, and this mark is the extent of the bulge, I guess you want to say, that's bulging in. And then the length here, that's not how much it needs to move, obviously. It just tells me, the extent, and then this is the apex, let's say, and then it drifts off, and then it drifts off. So I took a lead file, and I filed this area. I knew there was some lead in here. I didn't put it in here. I put some lead down here. But, and I found a bulge right there, or like a pucker, and that's probably when they stamp this. Of course, this bends over, and there's a lip all along here, and the metal has to go somewhere, and it kind of pooched out there. So that's kind of the problem. I didn't see it when it was in bare steel, because when it's in primer, it shows everything, but in bare steel, I just didn't notice that it was that bad. Otherwise, I probably would have hammered on it then, but no matter, we'll fix it right now. And to fix it, I'm going to take this flat drift right here and a ball peen hammer, and I'm going to put it on that little puckered part right there, and I'm going to drive it in. And if it raises that lip, we'll deal with it. If it lowers that lip, we'll deal with it. Hopefully we can get it just to go in and try to roll this up, and then we'll fill this area and we'll be done. So let me set the camera down, quit talking, and start hammering. All right. All right, looks like it helped. Let me lower the tailgate down. We'll take a look, and we'll just kind of keep that up, and we'll see how we do. Well, it's a little better. I'm going to keep at it, see what happens. I'm going to go a little higher up, right towards this edge. I'm going to try to stay away from the edge. Hopefully just pull that down with it. like it went in. Let's see what it looks like. I gotta hold it up because I got my block out of there. Some of that chip primer off there. It looks like it's going in. Let me sand that real quick, get all that primer off there, and we'll see how it looks. All right, we got it cleaned up pretty nice. I took a lead file and filed it again. Then I took a steel file and rolled this lip over. It's feeling pretty good. There is a slight detent down inside there, but I can fill that no problem. That's where I had to kind of pucker up and gather up that material. So let's give it a test here. Looks like it fits. No problem. So the gap actually looks a lot better now. You go up through here. So pretty happy to get that little bulge out of there. And it's looking pretty good. One more down, bunch more to go. All right, every time I get something else better, I readjust it and then we have to think about something else. So we're good here. A little big right there. We're gonna have to do some filling there. I think that's got a bad area in the stamp. This one is just terrible. And I don't know if I didn't get this quarter panel over. I went as far over to the brace, so it's really the only place it could go. So we have quite a bit of filling to do here, but then it gets tight down here. So, you know, it's kind of not pie wedge, but it does get bigger down there. So I'm gonna, definitely this is gonna have to be filled along here. It is a little tight right here after I readjusted it again. And you remember we put all that lead right there. So I think I'm gonna have to take some of that lead out right through here to get this gap nice and even through here. The other side is pretty good. The gap in here is a little bigger than I'd like, but it goes down at an angle and it actually looks bigger than it is, but we may end up filling that too. I think I'm gonna need to sleep on that one, but for sure we need to fill this. So I think that's what we need to work on next. All right guys, I just got my quart of metal to metal out of the cabinet, my Evercoat, and it's about 2/3 of the way empty, and I stirred it up and it does not look good. I'm not gonna risk it. This video is getting we're getting a little deep into this video anyway, so I think we're gonna cut this one off right here. I wanna kind of sleep on how we're gonna fill that just right so it's nice and flat and a perfect gap, so we're not in there, you know, trying to sand that for 2 weeks trying to get it right. So a little bit of planning I think will help on that. Now, I know this video is coming out a day after Christmas, and I want to wish you all a happy holidays. Whatever you celebrate, I hope it was full of joy and love with your family and friends, and you have safe travels home. Now, we've got a new year coming up, and we've got a lot of work left on Ruby, and you will be seeing some pictures of subscriber projects at the end of this video, but I'm missing a lot of other people's projects. You sent me some, and then I haven't gotten any. And I hope you guys are all out there working on your projects like I have. Let's get back out there. Let's get to work. Get me some pictures. I don't care what you've done. Reorganize the garage. Send me a picture of that. I'd love to see it. So get those to me so I can, you know, start adding these to the videos at the end. And, you know, we can all enjoy our projects, motivate each other, and get this work done so we can start driving these things instead of working on them all the time. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I always love to hear from you guys. We'll see you on the next one.